How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different than your typical theory because, well, for those that aren't aware, it's been 15 years since the release of Birth by Sleep. Holy shit. God, every time one of these anniversaries come around, I feel that much older. But I digress. Regardless, point being that with this new anniversary release, we also have a statement from Tetsuya Nomura himself. Yes, very rarely do we ever get a full-length statement from the main man in charge when it comes to his thought process behind making the game, hence why I am doing this video now. Typically, I try not to do a whole lot of news and info videos because my mentality is if you're following someone small like me in the Kingdom Hearts community, you almost guaranteed are to be following one, if not multiple other creators that have already covered said news and info. But regardless, this time, it's just too important for me to pass up. First and foremost, shouts out to Prodigy for bringing this to my attention. I'm sure by the time I upload this video, there would have been multiple people covering this topic. However, for me personally, Prodigy's community post is what brought it to my attention. If you love Kingdom Hearts and you don't know who Prodigy is, you're doing yourself a disservice by not checking him out. Even though, like I said, if you're following me, you're almost guaranteed to already know who he is. And if you don't, you do now. However, getting back to the statement, I believe that there's a piece of info in here that Nomura gave us to serve as a sort of clue, if not hint, towards the future saga and how the story may unfold in the future of the series. Beginning at the very beginning, he says it's been 15 years since the release of Birth by Sleep. So I've been asked to give you a secret anecdote about how the game itself was born. I've already revealed quite a lot, so I had to think about what would be best. Apparently, the plan is to release my comment alongside the teaser trailer for Birth by Sleep from the secret movie in Cage 2. So taking my cue from that video, I'd like to give you an insight into the crossroads. So again, as per usual, when these anniversary things come around, typically Nomura will give a little bit of info as to how he created the game, his thought process behind it, just a little bit of behind the scenes, a little bit of fun facts to go with the anniversary, right? However, again, I feel like this time around, it's actually pretty important. Going on, he says in this video, 3 Keyblade wielders clad in armor wait for someone at a crossroads. Meeting someone at a crossroads is actually a recurring motif in Kingdom Hearts. At the beginning of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Sora meets someone in a black coat and is invited to Castle Oblivion. Of course, we've all seen this since, you know, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories was released. The path that we see Sora, Donald, and Goofy heading on at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, which of course leads to Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, the crossroads scene is sort of the in-between those two games as to how Sora ended up at Castle Oblivion. Going on, during the climax of Birth by Sleep, the 3 protagonists wait at a crossroads for 2 Keyblade wielders linked to them by fate. It is where the opposing unions come together and the Keyblade War breaks out in the Kingdom Hearts Key series. Those who wish to become the new leader of the unions in place of their masters gather here in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. Now, of course, in the Kingdom Hearts Key series, it's talking about the original Keyblade War. As we see the origins of that, all the different unions make up each sort of quadrant of the Keyblade graveyard. And of course, in Union Cross, when Ava summons the Keyblade wielders to be the new union leaders, Lauriam, Ven, Ephemer, Scald, Brain, they all arrive at these crossroads. So again, as you see, Nomura is blatantly telling us that the crossroads have a specific purpose in all of these entries. Again, whether it be multiple people meeting up who are tied by fate, or whether it be a significant divot in the story where, again, the Keyblade War quite literally changed everything to come after. But again, going on, he says, as you can see, whenever there's something going on, crossroads act as an important point of divergence. Again, going back to what I just said. To trace it right back, the motif was inspired by the well-known crossroad myth from American folklore. The story goes like this. A young man makes a deal with the devil at a crossroads, trading his soul for the ability to play the guitar. The first time a crossroads appears in Kingdom Hearts is in Chain of Memories, which is about losing something to gain something. Keep this in mind. And in fact, all subsequent appearances of Crossroads have the same significance. The greatest example is Birth by Sleep, a story where all 3 protagonists pay a heavy price to obtain something. But wait, when the Lost Masters gather at the Crossroads in Kingdom Hearts 3, what is gained and what is lost? That's a story for another time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, very rarely do we ever get Nomura just blatantly giving us hints like this. Because of course, he could have kept this whole statement the same and left out the part about Cage 3. He's not going to answer it for us, so there's no reason to mention it unless he wants to get our minds thinking with what he had just said about the crossroads and its significance with the Lost Masters. Now, this is where my thought process comes into play. A while back, some of you who have been around the channel for a while may have seen this video I released well over a year ago, where I actually mention potentially what Nomura may actually be talking about here. When it comes to what the Lost Masters had gained and lost during the scene in Kingdom Hearts 3, I believe that what the Lost Masters had gained in that moment was the true darknesses. And to top it off, this scene at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 is in fact the act of implanting the darknesses in the foretellers. Now that he has his Keyblade back and in turn the power to do so, he then called the foretellers back to see it through. Now, what do I mean by that? As we all know, the Master's plans to do with the 13 true darknesses heavily involves the foretellers, 6 of which are to be implanted in said foretellers to be sacrificial pawns in order to give them a form so that we can now defeat them. Now, when looking at this scene in Kingdom Hearts 3, we see the foretellers are more or less their selves. Aset is still very much the aggressive person when it comes to speaking and getting his point across, as well as Ira being the calm, collected leader, right? So at this point, it's safe to say that they have not been taken over by darkness. However, again, I don't think that we're that far off. This very well may be, as I said again in previous videos, moments before they are implanted with the true darknesses. As we see, Lucio now has his Keyblade back along with the black box. The plan is about to be set in motion. And when we see Lucio, he still has a yellow eye. Long since Xehanort had perished. The only explanation for this could be if Lucio himself has been implanted with one of those true darknesses. Again, we don't see anything from Lucio from the moment in the Keyblade graveyard when Sora defeats him all the way up to the secret ending. So literally anything could have happened during this time period. For all we know, he could have met up with the Master of Masters, who again could have instilled one of the darknesses in Lucio, again setting the plan in motion. So now that Lucio has his Keyblade back along with the black box, he has summoned the foretellers to this iconic crossroads to again implant the true darknesses within them to get the plan on track. And what exactly is it that the foretellers lose? Well, it quite simply and quite obviously is themselves. As we saw with Riku, when it comes to controlling the darkness inside you, it is no easy task by any stretch of the imagination. And that was Riku dealing with Ansem, who wasn't even one of the true 13 darknesses. He was a piece of Xehanort's darkness, you know, being as heartless and all. And we saw just how difficult it was for Riku to gain control over him. So when it comes to the foretellers, it's almost guaranteed that once these darknesses are implanted in them, they are going to lose their sense of self. The darknesses being completely in control of their bodies. Which again is why the Master's plan is so insane to all of us, Lucio included, because he's essentially sacrificing them for the greater good. As much as he says, I believe in them and believe in their strength of heart to overcome this, just look at the facts. It's not gonna happen, at least not right away. So again, with Lucio having his Keyblade back, having the black box back, and being implanted with one of the true darknesses already, he would then go on to summon the other foretellers back so that he can do the same to them, gaining one of the true beings of darkness and losing themselves. Again, that's just off the top of the dome from reading this myself personally, because you know how my brain works being a theorist and all. I'm always like, what does this mean? But again, it could just simply be nothing. I could be wrong. I'm not Tetsuya Nomura. I don't make the game. But again, another significance that these crossroads may have to do with how we get to the world of Quadratum. Because as we see here, all the foretellers are summoned back at the crossroads in the Keyblade graveyard. Assuming they came from the world of Quadratum, it would start to make sense. Because in the secret movie of Kingdom Hearts 3, we see Sora wake up where? In the Shibuya Crossing, another set of crossroads. Again, Nomura blatantly told us that crossroads hold a significance in this story. Could it be possible that the secret that Mickey finds in Skylight Kylum in order to access this other world has to do with the iconic and symbolic Keyblade graveyard, more specifically the crossroads? Again, the foretellers are summoned back at a crossroads, and if we were to take this same scene and flip it over to unreality, Sora is waking up in Shibuya at the crossroads. Again, I don't know, this is just me spitballing all of this. I just found this statement to be very fascinating because again, rarely ever do we get a full-on lengthy statement like this from Tetsuya Nomura himself. And again, I feel like he specifically mentioned this detail in order to get our brains processing what may be happening next. Because again, he said, I revealed a lot. So I had to think specifically on what I wanted to reveal for this anniversary. And again, the very end of this statement about the Lost Masters and the Crossroads in Kingdom Hearts 3 didn't have to be in there. I'm sure everyone could have put 2 and 2 together based off of what he said prior to that. So again, I feel like he mentioned that specifically because again, these crossroads in Kingdom Hearts 3, along with his statement on what they symbolize, has something to do with the foretellers and their importance moving into the next saga, which again, as far as we're aware, is to be implanted with one of the true darknesses to be killed off now that they have a form. So again, this moment in the Keyblade Graveyard is only moments before those foretellers are implanted with those very same darknesses, gaining the form of the true darknesses and losing themselves to the darkness. However, that's all I gotta say for this. Let me know what you guys think. Again, spitballing here, so I could be completely wrong. Again, I'm not Tetsuya Nomura. I don't make the games. That being said, do not worry, I still have another video cooking in the works. Been cooking for a while, it's steaming. I think you guys are gonna love this one, so stay tuned for that. But until that moment comes, it's been Vel. I love your faces, and I'll see you later.